Hello YouTube, Unknown Prepper here today with two firearms that are very useful in the community as a whole. I have a Ruger 1022 and then you wouldn't believe it, another Ruger 1022. So today I kind of want to cover the conversion kit that Hightower Armory makes to convert your 1022, which normally looks like this with a full-size stock, into the Hightower Armory 90/22 kit that they make. So the difference is obviously the internals of the Ruger 1022 have been removed from a rifle similar to this one and inserted into that. And the way it works is basically this entire stock assembly here, anything that is this gray color can all be taken off, and then the internals or the guts, the firing mechanism, the barrel, everything on this rifle can be transferred into the kit like this. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera for a second. I'll take this rifle apart and then I'll let you see what it looks like when this is all taken apart. Okay, so off camera to save some time here so the video is not as boring, I took out the one bolt that goes here and holds the stock to the actual part of the firearm that is the firearm as far as the government is concerned. So once you take the screw out, the stock and the whole firing mechanism is actually separate now. If you have a different model, there may be a band here that you also have to take apart, and it's just one screw that would go this way. But this model doesn't have that. So now you can just kind of lift up on the top piece and pull away with the bottom piece. I did forget you have to move the safety kind of into the middle, and then it'll just kind of lift away. And as you can see, the stock and the actual firing mechanism of the firearm are separate now. So I'm going to go ahead and move that off to the side and kind of show you that this is what you'll be transporting from the inside of the firearm into the Hightower Armory kit. Again, this is what they're considering the firearm. The stock itself is not considered part of the firearm, and the serial number is on the other side. So this is actually a pretty easy swap to do. Basically just remove this internal. This is a clamshell design. You can see there's a ton of bolts. There's probably about 10 of them. On the other side you could see the actual head of the screw itself. And then this just sits inside of that platform and it turns it into a bullpup. So you could see if you hold it like that, you could see where the ejection port lines up right there, and that this is basically what sits inside there. So the reason why I went with this setup, why I transformed one of my 1022s into this setup, is it makes it a bullpup and just shortens everything up. And the cool thing is that this is still within the legal length for compliance, as far as the length of the rifle and then also the length of the barrel, because this automatically comes with a 16, I think this is actually a little bit over 16-inch barrel to make it legal, and it all just fits inside this clamshell design. I have the instructions here. It's a pretty easy install. Like I said, you just pull out the internals. Here's an actual breakdown of the setup. You can see the one side of the clamshell, the other side of the clamshell, the receiver and barrel that just kind of slide in between, and it all just bolts together. And then, that's it. You basically just put it together. It's a nice setup because you do have two safeties on this if you have a newer shooter. There's a finger safety up here. You can see moving it back and forth. And then there's also a push button safety in the back, which you can see on the other side will light up red, just like most safeties when it's ready to fire. It's interesting because a real P90 would load from the top, and this would be the magazine, but this is fake. You can see that's actually the rear sight from the old setup on this one. There's nothing here. The rounds don't load in through this. This isn't even a real magazine. This is set up to hold extra rounds. If you really wanted to, you could lay them down, and the little notches keep them from rolling back and forth. I've never used that, but you can use it. It's kind of a cool way to carry extra ammo if it's not in a magazine. And then this just slides back in and locks back down if you do it correctly. It'll still use the Ruger 1022 rotary magazines, which are, pretty reliable. I like them. I would say the only downside to this rifle when you set it up in this configuration is, one, it becomes extremely annoying to clean because you have to access the firing chamber via the bottom, which is, hard to get in there and clean. And then you can lock the slide back on the side and clean through there. But it does make it a lot more annoying to clean than being able to take out the internals via one screw when it's set up in the other stock form. But I do think it's worth, if you have an extra Ruger 1022 that's just kind of laying around, to do one of these Hightower armory kits. It still shoots the 22 round, which makes it super fun to shoot. There's basically zero recoil, especially with it being a bullpup. So the firing mechanism area is right up against your shoulder. 22s have literally zero recoil to begin with anyway. Like I said, the only downside that I see with this configuration and this setup is, one, the magazines are tough to load, and two, it's tough to clean. But once you get used to it and you kind of do it a couple times, it doesn't become an issue. Another thing I like is it's super light, it's super compact, it's very easy for newer shooters to shoot. Like I said, it has two safeties, so you can really make sure that you're being safe with it. This mock suppressor does look pretty cool. It's not a real suppressor. You just kind of twist it off. You have to line up the things correctly. Kind of a pain to get off. And then you can see it still just has the Ruger 1022 barrel, same as this one. This one was just a different design, so it has iron sights on it. And then this just slips back over. You have to line it up correctly, which will be tough for me to do with one hand. But basically, you just kind of line that up, and then it'll slide right back on, like so. And then it locks into place, and you have a mock suppressor. One of the things I also do like is it does come with, you can get little rails for it and put them on top. I just have a little tiny red dot, and this thing is an absolute blast to shoot. The only other thing that I would say is you have to be careful with your police department that you are with in your area. Check for compliance, because with this clamshell design, it does cover the serial number. Now, if you look at the law for firearms, it says that the serial number cannot be, you can't destroy the serial number or make it so it's not visible by, trying to get rid of it. This doesn't try and get rid of it. This just covers it. It would be the same thing as like putting a flashlight on the bottom of a pistol where the serial number is on the rail. So as far as what I can tell and the laws that I've read and some of the people that I've talked to, this is 100% legal because you're not trying to destroy the serial number. The only problem that I could foresee you having is, in order to get to the serial number, you do have to take both halves of the case apart to be able to see it. So I just took a picture of my serial number and I have it on my phone so they could always run it, and I keep the paperwork from the original rifle with me at all times. So if they ever needed to run it, they could see that as well. So again, this is the Hightower Armory 90/22, or I just call it basically the 22 P90 because that's what it's supposed to look like. It's a great setup. I've really enjoyed it so far. I will do some video of me shooting it and, kind of a review of it out on the range. But I've had it for about 2 years so far. I've shot it probably about 5 or 6 times, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I definitely think it's a kit that's worth getting. If you guys have some questions, drop it down below. But again, this is the model HTA 9022. You would look it up as the Hightower Armory 9022. And the kit will run you, I think, about $250 if I remember correctly. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have some questions, drop them down below.